All right. Hello and welcome everyone to our today's session for the Learn and Lead with our amazing speakers. So um, just some regular stuff that we always talk about, that today's session is going to be about 30 minutes of presentation where our amazing speaker is going to talk about UX and AI and why UX is the key for human-centric AI. And but before that, Padmini is going to introduce the speaker. While the session is going on, please keep yourself on mute. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And after our speaker is done with the presentation, we'll open it up for Q&A. So with that, Padmini, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Ewa Ding is a product and UX design executive with over 20 years of experience, turning complex technologies into trusted, human-centered products. As a founder of UX for AI, she advises startups and organizations on building AI systems that are not just intelligent, but responsible, ethical, and built for trust. Known for bridging technical depth with human insight, she helps leaders and teams shape innovation that is not only usable, but meaningful and aligned with human values. That's amazing. Welcome, Eva. We can't wait for you to get started. So I'll move out of the way and put myself on mute.
Thank you so much, ladies, for the warm intro, and thank you all for coming and having me here today. And it's such a joy. I feel so happy to be here because the topic we're discussing today is deeply personal to me. AI is moving so fast, and many of us felt like it's impossible to keep up. But the real story isn't like, the raw performances, because more capability is really about the human experience. So today we'll focus on what's really important, the human side, and the role of design in shaping the outcome we really want. Now, I have a lot to unpack, and it might be more than 30 minutes, but I'll try to control the time a little bit, but remind me when I'm running out of time. You see let me share my screen. Hold on a sec. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to jump into the slides and let me share. Where's the share button?
It's the green button. So it's if you hover over at the bottom and you'll see the participants, and it's a green upward arrow button.
Mine is right on the top. But anyway,
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That's why I couldn't find it.
As long as it works.
Okay. You see it?
Yep, we see it. We see your
we
screen.
see it.
Yeah, we see the presentation.
Awesome. All right, we'll
So
know.
it's not the entire, I mean, it's a little cut off. So I don't know if it's the zoom factor. A little cut off, so yeah, now it's seeing.
It's better now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll know AI is everywhere. The pace of change is unlike anything we've seen before. Let's first do a quick show of hands. And can we just use the emoji, that show of hands? I want to know how many of you are not using ChatGPT like tool on daily basis? Not. Anyone? Nobody? Nobody, right? I don't see any hands. Okay. This is not surprising. Over 500 million people are using AI daily. But now again, how many of you uses more than, say, 5 AI tools on daily basis, either personally or at work? Anyone? Ooh, I've seen power users in this room. Awesome, awesome. Okay, And how many of you have tried tools like Bolt, Lovable, to build app or website, or any other vibe coding, no code? Wow. We are really advanced group. This is where things get really interesting, isn't it? Now we can do things that used to be impossible. Okay, so see, we have seen the magic in action. AI tools has slipped into our daily lives so quickly and so widely. AI is arguably, actually is the fastest adopted technology in human history. When ChatGPT launched, it hit 100 million users in just 2 months, faster than TikTok, Instagram, even the internet itself. Gen AI reached more people in 2 years than PC or internet did in their first decade. And with billions poured into AI infrastructure, it's not just the speed, it's also the scale. We've never seen a rollout this big. In fact, studies show about 75% knowledge workers now use AI at work. More than 60% companies are already using AI in one function, at least one function, and with marketing leading the way. Half of the team are using AI for content creation. Everyday behaviors are shifting too. People ask AI to do everything: homework, LinkedIn post, relationships, creating things, anything we don't want to do or it's hard to do, we ask GPT, see if it can do for us. When ChatGPT had an outage some time ago, millions of people were suddenly forced to use their own brains again. That's how pervasive it is. And it's not just the users who feel the magic. The startup scenes has changed drastically as well. Lovable hit 100 million ARR in just about 8 months. Replit just announced they had the Series C round and valued already at $3 billion. With only 100 people, this was unthinkable before. Base 44, a solo founder, sold a company for over $80 million in just 6 months. Solo founder. The barriers to building have never been this low, right? So we all know AI is not hype. There's so many expert warnings. AI is going to destroy us, whatever, but I don't think it's going to go away. It's already transforming how we live, how we learn, how we work, everything. It is here to stay. But have we asked ourselves why AI feels so magical? Is it just the size of the model, the raw performance, or is it because it's giving us a complete new kind of digital experience? Let's take a look. First, we can just chat with it, right? We can type, we can chat, it understands in our own language. Unlike traditional software, you have to learn its logic, menus, flows, commands, learn the UI. And practically, that's why UX designers were there for the first place. And having the system adapting to you instead of you adapting to the system is like, say when you want to order Uber, right? Now you open the Uber app, type in address, choose the right type, etc., versus just saying, I need a ride, pick me up here from here in 10 minutes, right? So this shift that the system works for you without you having to learn feels almost magical. So conversational AI will profoundly transform how we interact with technology. And I think, we already seeing a lot of voice AI applications is the new hotspot. And there will be a lot more because the multimodal and even, say, the gesture, right? Facial expression in the multi-language in the future, that conversational interface will only mature. And then it's really, really smart. It feels really, really smart. It knows a lot of stuff, any domain, you name it, right? Far more than any person or any team, any expert in this world. Even though it has zero lived experience, no awareness, no judgment. It just predicts the next word so well that it sounds like an expert. Even when it's wrong, it delivers everything in this calm, confident tone. And here's the trick. When something speaks fluently, like in full sentences, calmly, confidently, which I should do, our brain gives it credibility. We think, if it sounds smart, it must be smart. Now, this is the part blows people's mind because we are seeing intelligence without understanding. This never existed before. It's not fake, it's just different. And this is the part what makes it feel magical. Little bit like you have very smart parrot can say exactly what you say. It feels impossible, that's why it's magical. And then now it remembers me, right? AI is capable of hyper personalization. And traditional tools are very context limited. Anybody had to build the software, understand how hard it is to build in personalization and how limited we can do it. Because not only we don't have the AI capability, but we don't basically we don't have a system can learn from the user behavior. But AI can hold now ongoing memory. It can pick up your preference, your tone, your goals. ChatGPT now has a lot more personalization than ever before. When it first launched, it has zero because it has much larger context window. And you can even go to the settings and edit and customize what it should remember about you. The magic is really in continuity. Not just what I click, but who I am, how I think, how I speak. Every conversation, I don't have to start from scratch. And that kind of memory builds trust, builds understanding, and it feels like a relationship. And never before a technology feels this way, right? And AI feels magical also because it's crazy fast. We never had software that goes this fast. So AI can, we all know, helps with productivity. It compresses hours into seconds. Mid-journey users generate over 15 million images per day, and this number probably outdated already. And this is something never, basically unimaginable before. And this is not just speed; it's cognitive acceleration. It thinks with you in real time. You think of something, type it in, and second later it's done. The code, the translation, whatever you want. So it collapsed the distance between I need to do this and done. And that's new kind of responsiveness. It feels almost surreal sometimes. And lastly, it makes us capable of more, right? We can do things we couldn't do before. A non-technical person can create app without knowing how to code. Average people like me can create a professional looking video or movie with voiceover effects. Small business owners can create personalized campaigns at a scale that was never possible. The list goes on and on. And that changes how we feel, not just productivity, but also empowerment. And we start to believe I can do more than I thought I could. And that's transformation. Okay, so AI is so magical and powerful, then what happens when it fails? There have been numerous notable AI failures in the past 20 years, such as Tesla autopilot crashes, right? And I think it's still happening. Amazon biased recruiting tools, IBM unsafe, Watson for oncology, that was $65 million failure. Here I put 5 more recent real cases where design choices lead to serious consequences. The first one is very recent in March this year, that a 76 years old New Jersey man traveled to meet a chatbot who claimed she's a real woman, and chatbot is named Big Sis Billy. I think it's modeled after a celebrity. The man tragically fell and subsequently died. This is what happens when psychological inference is treated as a feature and not a risk, because this guy was convinced he was going to meet a real woman. And the second AI ping flop, most of you probably have heard, and it was much hyped the release in, I think, last year in last April. But then people just hated it. In the 3 months after its release, most units were returned. There were more units returned than sold. And it was slow, unfinished, and it claimed it can do everything iPhone do for you, but actually not. And not only it's not useful, it's not usable. And people really give it the worst review you can imagine. The company announced the shutdown of AI ping and the sale of assets February this year, which is, I couldn't find a better example, right? When a poor usability, a poor design of product tanked a whole business. The next example, Air Canada, is a very small case, but it's very representative. So the Air Canada has AI chatbot. I think this was last year, and it just made up some policy, and the guy followed it. And then later he's like, you need to be responsible. So the travelers sued and won. The Air Canada was ordered to honor the made up, discount policy or whatever and award damage. So misinformation can easily be turned into legal liability. And the next one is the fourth one is the Google Bard launch. It's in 2023, and this one it was really embarrassing. We all know when we launch a product, that launch demo is probably have been reviewed many, many times, right? Because it's a public launch demo. But in that launch demo, the chatbot gives a incorrect answer about, basically made up answer about a space telescopes. People like me probably didn't even notice, but there are people know this thing and they noticed and quickly become a really large scale public sort of outrage, right? And this incident wiped out over $100 billion of Google's stock market value. And the BART was later rebranded to Gemini. Here, inaccuracy could lead to loss of public trust and a huge amount of money lost in the value. Of course, Google stocks is much higher today, but that's a different story. And the last one, right? I don't know if you guys have heard a tool was quite popular called Character.ai. It was known for personalization, emotional engaging sort of chatbot, has really high level emotional intelligence. But it has been a lot of lawsuits lately. They have been cases, right? A bot told the teen to kill his parents. And this is sort of unthinkable. I'm a parent, I immediately feel like we need to. So I did a lot of research around this. I found there are numerous lawsuits relate to emotional exploitation for vulnerable users like youth. And the company actually wanted to, they argued back. They say AI should be treated as a person. So it could do anything. So basically, they don't want to be responsible for it. These failures aren't just bugs. They show the spectrum of what could be wrong, right? From the guy who died to the business basically collapsed, right? To money lost, to the youth safety. And amongst this, how AI affect the youth, I think is especially urgent. And I want to take a closer look at it. There have been a boom in human like AI companion apps because the human-like experience AI can provide. There's AI boyfriend, girlfriend, buddies, therapy, or AI, even AI psychologist. And the adoption amongst teens is massive. Millions are turning into these bots for advice, comfort, and intimacy. Here's a little story. I once mentored basically a Stanford computer science class on AI project. And the project was advising was they wanted to do AI therapist. And I asked them why. And it was a group of boys, right? And they basically were saying, we're so stressed out. And the therapists we find are not that good. And of course it's very expensive as well. So they want to design something that 24/7. And from my understanding is they really have nobody to talk to. They're dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of things, and actually they're growing too. Then there's a lot of hormone going on. So there is a real demand for something that is 24/7 available, that can listen to you, can even just say, yeah, I hear you. But that's also where it can get very dangerous. A Florida teen died by suicide after interacting with a chatbot on character.ai. Right? This is in addition to that the teen was told that he should go kill his parents. And this is very recent, just a couple of months back, a ChatGPT. This is all news, basically headlines, screenshots, right? This teen, Adam Rain, he committed suicide after multiple emotional charge conversation with ChatGPT, which allegedly encouraged his suicidal ideas rather than directing him to help. The AI is said to have provided method-specific guidance, praised his plan as beautiful, and even helped draft a suicide note. How helpful is that? And the Meta also was under a lot of public scrutiny because their internal documents show Meta's AI bot were allowed to hold interesting sensual chats with kids and even offer false medical advice. These on edge cases, these are design failures. And as we'll get into what AI in UX in AI really is. The root cause isn't the tech, it's design without safety, without guardrails. The very traits that makes AI magical, we just talked about, right? Always available, human-like, responsive, empathetic, are exactly what makes it dangerous when the user is vulnerable, maybe young, lonely. Now, and I just saw a little bit of good news because both Meta and OpenAI have come under intense criticism, and now they're making changes. And I need to read this so I don't give you false information. Meta will update chatbots on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp to avoid conversations with minors that stimulate sexual attraction and to refer young users to experts rather than discuss self-harm directly. Meanwhile, OpenAI said it will route ChatGPT conversations that show acute distress to reasoning models, which are better equipped to comply with mental health guidelines and added parent controls. So hopefully, there will be more changes. And I don't think this is all fixed. It's probably in a lot of other apps, other chatbots, because chatbot was the first AI adoption, AI application that a lot of people start to make. So if you have questions, you can type in the chat. I won't be able to answer right now because let me go over this, but we'll look at it at the end. Okay, so these stories, right? Oh, kind of scary stories, remind us AI doesn't fail in abstract ways when the design, whether it's data selection, whether it's bias, whether it's ethical considerations, whether it's human impact, right, is careless. People get hurt. Sometimes it's the most vulnerable people that we ought to protect. And this is what I usually say. AI is only as good as how we design it, because every decision from training data to ethics to user experience is what makes difference between harm and help. So now let's figure out what UX in AI really means. I hope this somehow looks familiar. I'm sure Tim probably have seen the iceberg before. But so this is how I think about UX in AI. It's, of course, it's just use iceberg is a really good analogy. At the tip, what you see is visible are the looks and the interactivity. But there's a lot more underneath, right? Of course, UI is part of UX because depends on how you design the UI, you get really experience from using it. But UI is not UX. Is a lot. UX is a lot more. It's a holistic, a person's subjective experience from this interaction with a digital product. And it has here I list the 6 most important aspects, I believe. First of all, and you can use this iceberg list to evaluate any UX, any product, right? First of all, is it useful? Does it create value? Does it meet my need? Right? Sometimes that, especially, so the first runs of AI applications we saw that were a lot of wrappers around LLM, and it doesn't solve real needs. And a lot of startup funders are, especially the new ones, looking for any kind of use cases to create an AI app. So sometimes they're not solving the real problem. And next one, of course, is it easy to use? This is the usability aspect of it, right? Is that clear? Do I know how to use it? And how many choices do I have to make? How long does it take for me to make that decision or to complete task? And then how does it feel? Do I feel happy? I remember many years ago, we used to say the delightfulness. It's so abstract that delightfulness actually can be a lot more concrete, right? Do I feel like, yeah, it gives me value, I will use it to do my job, or it makes me emotionally more fulfilled? There are also spectrum of different feelings that coming out of interacting with a digital product. And for AI, the UX goes far beyond traditional concerns, right? And most importantly can I trust it, right? Trust comes from transparency and reliability. I need to trust, like, for example, AI is a non-deterministic system, right? And yet inherently unpredictable. Can I trust the result? Can I trust, like, it's safe, right? And in addition to the trust is this ethical? Is it fair? Because AI models trained by human data inevitably has bias. It reflects how we are, how this society is, right? But we need to put a lot of thoughts into it, make sure it's transparent. It's it protects my privacy. It's fair, and many aspects goes into the ethical. And the last one is the one I think is most important as the criteria for evaluation is, does it harm me long term? Right? Think about the smartphone. I frankly, don't know how to read paper maps anymore. I have to rely on GPS, even just driving locally. Otherwise, I don't trust myself. Right? Now, AI is so powerful, what kind of long-term impact it has on me? It has on the whole of humanity, of our capabilities, of our values. That's a big question. So there are a lot of, so this is what UX in AI, right? Beyond the traditional, the usabilities and the layout, and so the trust, ethics, and human impact are the most important foundation. Now I want to use the iceberg to analyze the list, to look at the real AI UX case, a tool that people use every day, ChatGPT. So how am I doing time-wise? Okay, I need to hurry up. So do you see my ChatGPT screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, awesome. See, this is as a new user when you log in, what you see is very simple, right? Straightforward. It's familiar because that's old chatbot used to be. But for when it could get pretty complex, especially on the left panel, because you have the system sort of menu, and I have a lot of custom GPTs, right? And there are a lot of projects. Oh wait, what happened? And all your chats, right? So this structure looks very clean, but it's actually not so easy to use, especially when we ask ChatGPT any question that we don't actually pre-think where I should put it. So we keep asking. And when you take a break, ChatGPT groups that into a chat thread, and they use the first chat, basically pick some keyword as the name. So after a while, if you want to find that chat and follow up, it's very difficult to find where it is. So and also it's very difficult, and the search really doesn't work. You can't find the chat you want, and some chats of the project are hidden in the project unless you open the project. Otherwise, you don't see. Right? So it's not in that chat list. So there's quite a bit of problems, and this is the this is when you basically become a power user, but the real clean UI should work for both. And then let's look at the usefulness. ChatGPT is incredibly useful, right? I mean, look at my chat. I mean, a lot of them is about design, is about AI, but I also had a case where I bought some ancient scroll, and then it was able to recognize what it is. It was able to recognize the calligraphy and tell me the meaning of it. I mean, it was unbelievable. Okay. And especially now it pulls real life web data. So it does, before it doesn't do it. And sometimes you get the message and saying that my data had a cutoff date last July. But now it will just automatically, let's just say, what's the news today? I should do a search. I'm not sure. See, it does a search on web because it doesn't have that information. It's not in. So yeah, this is actually an agent structure. It has the web search agent, and then it goes search. And this can be done by you tell it please do a search or look up something, or it will do it because it doesn't have that knowledge. So this really helps to keep the data current because that's what we expected of it, right? Now, usefulness also means that whether the content is useful to me, and that largely depends on your prompt quality. We all know that the model is only as good as your input. And recently I learned how to make agent and really had to learn how prompt engineering works. And tiny little difference in your system prompting, whatever, could make a huge difference in the chat GPT behavior. As user prompting is even more, right? Some of us not even native English speaker, we just spell out words instead of clear sentences. So if you don't phrase your question clearly or precisely enough, you get weak result. And there's no feedback loop. They're not going to tell you, oh, if you prompt differently, that you will get better results, right? So in a sense, I have learned how to use GPT as a tool, not let it take over. And another usefulness problem is the use case discovery is non-existence. If you look at this, it's too simple. I have no idea. Other than asking a question, I have no idea what else it can do. But if you look at this, right, the cloud has use cases right on the homepage. You can write, you can learn, you can code, you can whatever. So there's, GPT should take some notes, make it more discoverable what user can do with this tool. So in terms of ease of use, at a glance, it's very easy. You just type anything, ask anything. But getting meaningful result is harder, right? Again, prompting is a skill and they don't teach you, and there's no tutorial, no template, nothing. So, a lot of times we end up, that's why there are a lot of posts say, use these 20 prompts if you want to find a job. Everything is like determined by prompt. So without help is not really so easy in terms using it, right? And there are a lot of small frictions. Like for example, desktop version, if you accidentally typed a lot and in the middle of it you hit return, you're doomed. It's not going to stop asking you whether you have finished. You just have to wait, right? We all know how long GPT response could be. You just wait. You sit there and wait. And that is a really frustrating experience. And also the multimodal inputs, the voice, whatever, somehow the context are not too smooth. These we all call friction gaps. The UI looks very simple. The experience is jacked a little bit. And how does I feel? GPT right now, because it can remember me and I feel like the conversation become easier. I feel it's, and the answer, I think as I master the prompt, I get answers that I like. So I end up using more, right? And this, and also I feel like emotionally being supported because it knows who I am. I don't have to restart every conversation. Sometimes I just give a random question. It actually will use the right context to give me the best answer. So I feel like, GPT, I'm actually only using GPT these days. I feel like having a loyal assistant, always available, always calm, always confident. It just sometimes it's too agreeable, overly flattering to a fault. And once I discovered I played with it, I just give it two conflicting opinion. And to both, it says, awesome, it's great. I'm sure you guys all had that experience. If you don't feel good anywhere else, come to GPT, whatever you say, it's awesome. And that creates a false sense of alignment, as if a system agree with you, when really it's just trying to keep things pleasant. And this can be misleading, especially for people who are not aware of it. right? So when a system feels emotionally intelligent, we may trust it more than we should, even when it's wrong. Okay, now we talk about trust. I think I trust GPT more, but in the back of mind, I do not know whether, when, where it is making mistake, right? If I do a lot of creative work, I say sure, because your job is to make it up. But if I want to use a reference, a fact, a reference, whatever, I have to really say, also show me the source of it. Give me the URL to the source. Because I've learned to be cautious, right? I learned from the misery of hallucinated sort of results. And these days, I think my trust is conditional. So we'll see how this goes, right? I do not know about you guys. Hopefully that maybe to some people I'm too trusting as well. This is a very personal, by the way. Anyways, so ethics, right? And we just saw example of a teen commit suicide after getting very wrong advice from ChatGPT. And I'm sure they're trying to add guardrails, but OpenAI famously disassembled their entire safety team. And I don't want to go there. You know, the regulations is really lacking, and that's probably should left for another day of topic. Okay. So when you're not careful, real harm could, could happen. And I thought there was a funny story. A man was hospitalized. I thought it was funny after following dietary advice. I mean, even following dietary advice, you could end up in hospital. That's just, it's kind of ridiculous. So you really have to be careful, right? The system still hallucinates. It's the inherent feature of AI. You cannot get rid of it, and it can be misused. And the system prompting, you know, why they'll have constant releases, because they have to keep tuning the system prompting to add more guardrails. And it doesn't really have escalation path. It doesn't have sort of a monitoring, capability. So it's just still very complicated. How do we reduce the harm? Okay, so I need to hurry up. And the long-term human impact, I think by now we should all have some idea that what's at stake. Now, they're very famous, I think Padmini just did a post on that, and I could be wrong. MIT study found that regular ChatGPT users has lowered brain activity while writing, and it produces more generic content and felt less ownership of their work. And even after switching away from AI, their cognitive engagement.
You're not sharing your deck. I don't know if were you?
Oh, you're
We're still
right.
seeing your
You're right.
chat GPT screen.
I forgot to switch back. Thank you.
It's okay. Just keeping a time check. I think we are at 8:52. So I believe, yeah, because
I will
in
go
case
real
people have a question.
So
All right,
how do we
awesome.
come up with the right design? And the core principles are human-centered AI design. And there are a lot of different aspects to it. And I made it into a sort of a loop, and with 4 critical elements. One is human-centric, right? Prioritize people's need and values. And also and guided by the ethical values. This is not responsible AI, not the guideline. This is really ethical values, right? Fairness, transparency, privacy, harm avoidance. And we ask, are we doing the right thing here, right? Can it cause harm? And then design for argumentation so it would amplify our capability, not replace. And the whole thing is earning trust through experience. So if when you design something at end, people are not trusting, then go back to revisit human-centric ethical argumentation. Okay, so this is as simple, you can remember as who we design for, how we uphold values, and what role AI should play, and then why people should trust it. So 4 pillars of it. Okay, so okay, there is a myth right now AI is replacing UX design, and it can do a lot of things. Okay, I'm not denying it. It can create prototype everything, help with user research, can suggest improvement, everything. But what it cannot do is the why. It will not understand the context. It does not feel the real pain. It cannot draw conclusions from emotional complex data, and it cannot prioritize what's also understand what's truly important to users, right? It also cannot replace live usability. It cannot replace the real human element in the whole design process. So I believe UX design still remains deeply human. The AI can improve our efficiency, but it cannot replace real design. Here's the big picture. And AI will accelerating change faster than any of us can imagine. But UX decides how these changes land in people's lives. Our choice, our judgment, our empathy, that decides human outcome. And that's the both responsibility and also opportunity. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Eva. That was great. Does anybody have any questions? I see anybody.
Sandrine has a question. Sandrine, why don't you go ahead and ask it?
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Ewa, for your presentation. Yeah, I really like the insight. I have a question because you mentioned something about getting better from engineering. And you said something that is not something that you can, they can teach you. But how do we get better? Let's say you want to build up like a system. So how are you going to make sure that what you are asking your system to do is really what it has to do? How to get better in opportunity? That's my question.
I'm sorry.
How to get better with prompt engineering? How do we get better with prompt engineering?
Very, very good question. There are classes you can take. Prompt engineering is really designed for the engineering. That's why I call it prompt engineering. And now is a lot of templating. But there are tricks because how the LM is designed, how you can get the most out of it. I think maybe 2 ways. When pick a class and check if Coursera or deeplearning.ai has anything. I think deeplearning.ai has something. And also just try. You know, somebody else's good prompting may not work well for you. So try yours. Because with a lot of personalization, the user prompting can be conflicted with the user context.
Okay, thank you.
But if you find a good prompting, share with us.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. Evan?
Hey, yeah, thank you. And great talk. So I have a question because there's one product that's out there that, well, that we might be working on, but the UI is good, but the UX to me represents, like you said, the journey, right? And it involves asking the users too many questions. How do you know when to stop? Because the designer is saying the more questions, the more we know our users. But if you ask me to do a survey or something and you ask me 50 questions, I'm going to lose interest.
Absolutely.
I'm going to quit. So this product, they're going to keep asking and saying, okay, now what about this? What about this? People are going to drop. So how do we convince the designer there's a limit? How do you know when to stop? Because UI is good, UX is getting hard.
Yeah, so nobody, usually I would just say people have like a minute of attention to whatever you wanted to do. Tim can correct me. I do not know these days what the data is, but 50 questions way too much. And onboarding is very important. And having a frictionless onboarding is is art because you don't want to, nobody's going to deal with 50 questions. So that, right, they're just abandoning it. So you want to get them started, give them some value. And as you giving them value, you trying to get more from them. It has to be sort of, you know, not so openly, here's 50 questions. And also AI is very good at learning from user behavior. So some of the question may not even be necessary.
Right. Yep. I agree. I agree. Thank you.
Tim, what do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would concur that you have to show some sort of value. It is a kind of give and take relationship. So yeah, any way you can shorten up that time to first value, whatever that might be, that's going to increase your engagement. So it's UX, but it also starts to get into the marketing world, right? Because we're trying to like get sort of people sort of invested in and wanting to continue on a journey. So it's similar sort of model to sales.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
And
do you
think
do a
about,
lot of A/B testing, sort of to gauge which one works better? Like,
I actually, that's a really good point. You know, Google spent millions, billions on A/B testing. I think half of, maybe 70% of money can be saved if they had real good designers. You have to know psychology. You have to know how people process information, you know. So a good design can pretty much in 60, 70% ballpark. And if something really, really, you know, ambiguous or difficult to decide, then use the A/B testing. I don't believe design is the result of testing. I just simply do not believe it. Otherwise, we don't need designers, right? We don't need psychology. So, I mean, back to your question, Evan, there's just look at examples like Lovable. It's so simple. The AI just tell me what you want to build. And you think they don't want to know more? Of course they do. Because if you just type, I want to build website, they have no idea what website you want to build, right? But they don't say, tell me what you want to build. Here's 50 questions. I can give you the best. They don't do that. They just say, tell me, whatever. Because once you get some value, then you learn also from that process that what else I need to give to get better results. That's the trick.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
love that, and love what you said about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really like stuck with me as well. It's great.
Any
Anybody
other
else?
question? So how was it helpful? I mean, I prepare a lot. I could talk for days
And
about
no, this was great, Eva. So I would just say that because you've, spent a number of years in UX and UI, and people are in various places on their AI journey, right? So for some people, it may not be very intuitive. And of course, you had, a lot of great recommendations. But what would you say would be like top three things, right? That as people start to, get in that mindset, that how do you ensure that, the whole thing is like human centric? Like, how do you develop those skills? Like for you, it comes intuitively, right? But for a lot of people, it doesn't.
you mean as designer or as user?
I guess like maybe both, right? But like if you're developing AI solutions, right? So maybe first answer from like a designer perspective.
Well, I think there, just remember three things. First of all, does it solve a real need, not a made up need? And I have to tell you, every product you can find probably of, 20, 30, maybe even 100 early adapters, right? Having a user does not mean it will reach maturity. Does not mean it solves real need. It has to solve real problem, right? And does it provide value? Sometimes you might have the wrong audience. You might whatever. Does it provide real value? right? There's a problem, but it could be there are already solutions. Your solution does not provide any real value.
Yeah, no, but there are, so here's the thing, right? So people sometimes do come up with great ideas and it's solving like a real problem, right? So, but because the solution is very complex, right? So they
Exactly.
know and they're after, but like, how do you make sure like it's simple enough, right? Like, do you have any recommendations for folks that while they are going after a problem that really needs to be addressed, but still, because the thing is so complex, they lose the people, right? Like
Yeah.
so what's your advice, like from that,
So
mindset?
when you start, of course, that's I used to train PMs on how they should evaluate UX any design, and I usually work on enterprise software. It's pretty complex, right? So it's not like you look at it, you know what it is. So I would teach them a trick. I said, you don't read every word. Don't try to make sense out of it. It's not your job. Your job is scan it and see if it makes sense to you. Okay, you just quickly scan it. Every screen. If by scanning you have no idea what the heck is trying to do, it's too complex. Period.
Okay, that's good. That's really good advice.
Yeah,
Yes,
and it has to form some kind of sentence in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or word, clear word. Like you open Uber, you see a
Mm-hmm.
map. Where do you want to go? So your use case is very clear. Or you see
Mm-hmm.
an enterprise app. Enterprise user BI tool wants to tell you 200 different things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you pick up whatever, however your brain works, pick up
Mm-hmm.
from left to right and see if you can, if there's a sentence forming in your head tells you something that makes sense. If not, go back.
Mm.
It's not there.
Good.
So, but that
That's really
the
good.
UX has to be based on the audience, right? So as an example, if I'm an executive, I just need to know what are my report looks like, numbers, right? So the UX needs to design in such a way based on the
Exactly.
audience. Or what are the three key things you could tell us?
Well, a good design actually speaks to all the target users. If the executive uses that app, the executive should be one of the personas. And if they cannot design for all the personas, then it's not a good design.
I see.
Right? So that's why UX is actually a pretty hard job.
Oh yeah, it's a very important job. So
And it's so hard for people to think out of the box. And I always teach my designers, you don't think of what design patterns out there. Think what you're trying to achieve with this. What do you want your audience or readers to take away? Do they have to understand something? Do they have to do something? How can they do it in the most straightforward, no nonsense way? That's your job,
I
right?
love
But
that.
a lot of people are so scared, so they end up. I see that all the time. Every time I do design reviews, hey, Ewa, this hotspot uses this, Salesforce uses that. I'm like, their app has been 20 years old, and don't tell me their patterns, is the best pattern you can come up with. That's one. Second, they have different context, right? What is your context? What do you want your user to do? If you're not clear, then don't copy. But there's so much copying going on. So the UX, frankly, before AI, I have to say it was at crossroad. We weren't going anywhere.
So I may sound like a broken record when if people have heard me talk about it, but I'm going to say it in any case. Microsoft has this human AI experience toolkit. It's called the Hacks toolkit. So I truly believe that it is of value. So do check it out. It's called the HAX Hacks toolkit, and it does have those guidelines. It has a like a workbook and a playbook. And in the playbook, especially if you say what you're designing, it'll ask you questions. And as you answer the questions on the right side of the screen, it'll lay out test cases kind of. So definitely give it a try and just see. Maybe it doesn't work for your particular role or whatever, but definitely take a look at it before you roll it out. So
It's a good one. Padmini and I sat down. Padmini actually walked me through. She's like, let me show you. She's like a huge champion of the Hacks Toolkit.
Yeah, I think now anybody can create an app. You actually need more tools like this because before you can rely on a designer, hopefully a well-trained designer to do that. And
Right.
now people are not even hiring designers anymore, just do it. And I'm also thinking about creating some like really practical advice for people just use Lovable. I mean, I talked to a lot of PMs. They use Lovable bolt and to create prototype, but I'm like, they said it's okay. We still hire designers to do the real design. I'm like, the moment you lay down that screen, and it will grow roots in people's mind. So be
Yes.
very careful what you put on that prototype.
That is so true what you said. It'll grow roots in people's minds the second you see that.
Yeah, can I ask one more, Eva?
Yeah.
One more?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think that if a user is, we know someone who's good as a web UI, UX, does that mean that they can, what's the word? Transition to AI UI? Because sometimes what you do in normal world, you can't do in AI. If you do normal cyber, you cannot do AI cyber. So if this person is really good at web UX, does that mean they will be good in AI UX because there's different contexts, or they have to learn something?
You're speaking of two very different things, right? Website or whatever, any app has a user experience, their UX, but the AI UX is much greater, is like includes, because you can have an AI driven website, you can have AI driven whatever, or you can have a normal website.
Right.
Right. So I think, but I think I understand what you're trying to say. If, for people used to do user experience and whatever to come to AI, is not only we have to pay attention to the traditional UX criteria, right? But also we need to pay a lot more attention to the trust, to the ethical considerations, to the argumentation aspect of it, right? Especially long-term impact. Because a lot of founders I exclusively work with startup founders almost. They are so excited about their solution. They're so excited about what it can do. But most of them don't have the right answer. What do you think that the long-term impact you will have on people? Like, for example, somebody create my own copy, digital copy, right? Sounds great. But what if it gives a wrong answer and you are a very famous person who's accountable, say you're a doctor, whatever. There's certain things just shouldn't be done. And recently I heard a pitch, a woman, and it's already in works, okay? They're creating an AI world where people can feel better about themselves. Oh my God, I'm like, the alarm already went off in my head.
Wow.
So have you used a Figma AI ever?
No.
There's a lot of
There are a
people
lot of
using it.
tools, but
Yeah.
tools is just remember one thing. No matter how smart AI is, it will not be able to have that rich context we usually use for the right design, right? We spend normally weeks in user research, right?
Yeah.
We talk to real people. We, figure out who we need to talk to. We do stakeholder alignment. We talk to this, talk to that, come up to the strategic UX design, lay down the user journey, and then finally, then get to screen by screen. We figure a lot of, it's like you building a house, you build a structure first. AI doesn't have all that context. It cannot do all of that. A simple app, maybe, because it's trained by patterns. It probably can lay out, like Bolt can lay out any UI better than, okay, I've seen designers couldn't even do better than that, right? But as I said, everything is contextual. There's so much context. And I bet Tim might have a lot to talk about.
But we are talking about AI as it is today, right? As we know it today. 5 years from now, who knows, maybe.
Well, Who knows? But then
Yeah.
again, Padmini, do we want AI to replace us?
Yeah.
100% no.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So,
100% no.
so I know I cannot tell people, don't do this, don't do that, don't do whatever. I think as this is not recorded, right?
It is being recorded.
I'm gonna say something so controversial. I think collectively we need to learn our lessons. And then we know what to do.
Yeah.
Like this excitement about new technology is so overwhelming. We're all lost our minds, right? Don't record us, okay? And
It's
think about
okay.
all the jobs lost. It's crazy. All the jobs lost,
Yeah.
right? Did
Yeah.
we say that we plan to do that? Of course, nobody would admit that. But when they like sort of without any constraint develop anything, what do you think? It's
Yeah.
bound to happen.
A lot to digest and a lot to think about.
A lot to
So,
think
but
about. So
yeah. But were there any other questions? We know we're a little over time.
Just a quick question, if there is a minute.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
of
Ramya,
course.
go for it.
So this is, Eva, this is a very important discussion. I know everybody is a AI developer these days, PM, a tester, anybody, right, is a AI development. But now with this discussion, with your session, it comes to light, right? But I'm actually from the cybersecurity side, so I know the security side of AI, developing an AI application, but there are so many liabilities when it comes to UX. So I just had a quick question. You said that you work with startup developers. So do you think that the startups these days, do they start with a UX design before they even come up with an idea to develop a application use case, or do they just go straight away without a AI UX?
actually more and more they're abandoning the involvement of designers. So before I know at least every like funded startup will hire designer, but what they use them for are merely like tactical design, doing a layout. We cannot do layout, so you do it. Here's our idea, right? And um, and with AI is even more so, right? Because I just use tools and do something. And frankly, when the startup launch a new product, sometimes you provide the value is so great. You can just do very simple UI, it will still be okay. So traditionally, founders ignore the importance of UX design, especially strategic UX design, which sort of bridges the product idea with user, right? Why we call ourselves product designers, not UX designers anymore, because we are designing a whole product. But with AI, I'm seeing a trend that the design aspect get pushed back because most of the people, their understanding of UX is UI. Right? And they haven't considered a lot of aspects. With AI, you actually have a lot more to consider, not less. So you see this gap is actually expanding. And a lot of tools just flopped, right? It's just they're gone. I mean, but there are a whole lot more coming in. We don't even have time to even reflect. So I see this great danger, but I think the people are still people. We understand intuitive, we understand affordance. We're going to tell them this doesn't work. So
Yeah, that could also be a reason like why we see so many applications these days which are still in the prototype stage. They
Yeah.
haven't been into production yet. So
Yeah.
they're still in prototype, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
are
I'm going
people
around
really
just, yeah.
forgiving about poor UX now? They're like,
It
it's
depends.
okay.
It
Yeah.
depends. Think about Amazon UI. I talked to their VP of product when I got invited to their dinner. I said, when are you going to do some really needed improvement? He's like, we are the victim of our own success. They can't. They don't dare to because so many people using it, right?
Right.
Look at Craigslist. It was really bad usability.
Oh my God, horrible.
It's so horrible. They only have like 10 people or whatever in the company. 13 people makes millions and millions of dollars. They don't care. Why they don't care? Because the value they provide is not something you can get from somewhere else. It has user base, right? And it's so simple. It's so bad, but it's so simple, and it's so free. So user experience is not just layout. There's a lot of stuff that comes with it. And at the same time, you see beautiful, beautiful made UI. It won't last because it doesn't provide real value.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times that, when I look at portfolio, I don't look at screenshots. It doesn't tell me anything. I need to ask them, why do you design this way? So Steve Jobs has a famous quote saying that UX is not what looks and feels, is actually what it does. What it does is what gives you experience.
Nice.
We
Very
can keep
nice.
talking, Ewa. We can have
Yes.
but yeah.
No, but this was great. Were there any other questions?
Ewa, can I hire you for my next AI development?
I do a lot of consulting and advising anyways. But if just, say talk to your team, answer questions, I'll be happy to.
Thank
I
you.
talked to Ewa one-on-one and I felt so charged up this one time.
I remember that, yeah.
But thank you guys. I really appreciate this space,
Thank
this
you.
invite for me to speak my mind, because frankly, I get a lot of pushbacks from the founders.
Okay, this
so
is an open space and a circle of trust. So thank you so much for coming. This was great.
Yeah, thank you, Ewa.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Oh, I don't.
Yeah, drop your LinkedIn, Ewa.
Where's my LinkedIn? Let me see if I even have LinkedIn open. And let me know if you have any question. I'd be happy to. These days, I'm really doing a lot of mentoring, coaching. I'm thinking about creating courses. So I have to believe there are people still want to hear this.
Yes, of course.
And you
You
guys
have an
just give
audience
me the
here.
confidence.
Good, good.
So please, and I run UXY. I'm not really good community builder. These two ladies did something absolutely unbelievably wonderful, and so I need to learn from them. Hopefully,
It's like many
It's
hands in this.
yes, yeah, it's
my
not just us,
background.
it's everybody. And what makes it special is the people who are part of the community and who come to these events. So we're just, a small part. So thank you so much to everyone for always being so supportive.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Alrighty.
you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.